With Dawn of War 4 announced for 2026, playing the definitive edition of Dawn of War 1 now feels like a warm-up session instead of a level 9000 nostalgia trip it did before its next sequel was announced. These last few months have truly been a rebirth, not just for the Warhammer 40k Dawn of War franchise, but the entire real-time strategy genre. By the look of it, more content creators are feeling optimistic about these kinds of games. There are fewer videos showing up in my YouTube feed titled RTS is a dead genre, and overall, even if I sometimes throw some shade on this wave of optimism, my viewers are there to set me straight in the comment section. I'm actually quite happy about this, as just a few months ago I was the only one holding the light at the end of the tunnel and trying to get more people to be optimistic about our favorite genre. But let's get back to the topic at hand. How has the definitive edition of Dawn of War 1 been received by its grizzled veterans and young greenhorns of the genre? Well, let us use the Steam key I received for reviewing and find out. Steam's aggregate reviews would have us think the game has been received with mostly positive reviews. But is this really the case? Well, let me put it as a sort of a scale, starting with nostalgia over 9000 type of reviews, which can be summed up as I say These are just hardcore fans drooling over Warhammer 40k lore and a fantastic RTS game put together, and I wholeheartedly approve, as having something you love so much in your life is nothing short of wholesome. On the other hand, these kinds of reviews are as subjective as they can be and don't judge the product in any way. Taking this a couple of notches down to, let's say, level 5000, we have the player reviews which recognize the nostalgia feeling objectively, so their comments alongside their reviews basically write out the word itself, nostalgia.
We are the Emperor's chosen. For the Emperor! Light of the Emperor!
And this is completely understandable. The original game came out in 2004, more than 20 years ago. And people who were kids back then are basically grown-ups today with jobs, families and the like, so playing this game again, especially for those who haven't touched it for decades, it is a nostalgia trip like no other. But in judging the game itself, we can disregard these kinds of reviews as well. The next level of reviews, which I would put at 1000 nostalgia level, are more clear-headed reviews. Reviews in which you can read both the good and the bad, the real opinions about what this version improved and what it didn't fix or change. These types of reviews carry a mix of negative and positive scores, and I think they make a good read for the most part. It is true that this definitive edition of Dawn of War 1 doesn't go as far with the graphical upgrade as many might have hoped for. Yes, visual fidelity is improved with sharper textures, with more detail and better lighting, but this isn't a proper upgrade that would have elevated this game past its 2004 look. It's a touch-up at most.
Taking heavy fire!
The UI is a great example of a work only half done. Yes, it is improved, but if you play on high resolution, you need a magnifying glass to read tooltips and descriptions. On the other hand, the two massively important changes are the new max zoom level, which allows you to see much more of the battlefield at a glance, even if it does lose you the feeling of being close to the carnage. And the engine upgrade to 64 bits sets the stage for better stability and more massive mods. Mods which have been keeping this very old game alive for all this time.
Mission accomplished.
This compatibility with mods that have been made for the original game might be partially responsible for the light touches to the game in the definitive edition. To keep it compatible with all the changes, modders made in creating those fan-favorite mods like the Unification, which adds numerous factions to skirmish and online multiplayer to the Soulstorm campaign. Another one is the Ultimate Apocalypse mod, with the biggest draw there for players being battles of truly epic proportions, and it too adds new units, buildings, abilities, factions, and even titans. I should also mention the Crucible mod, which is made by some of the same modders and aims to bring both huge scale and brutal difficulty. It is basically an alternative approach to the Ultimate Apocalypse mod. The one thing you have to know is that these mods have yet to be fully implemented in this definitive edition, but their teams are actively working on that. Most if not all of these have their own Discord servers, so you can jump into them and get the latest info.
Foul demon!
Now we can drop down to Nostalgia Level 0 reviews, which are reviews which start to question all the missing elements, still broken issues, lacking quality of life improvements, and other things developers simply didn't do a great job on. To rip the band-aid off most harshly, let's start by questioning the original game's repeating mission objectives and structure. Not to mention the later expansion and their lack of a proper story campaign, and rather just a map with endless cycle of skirmish matches versus AI. Playing this in 2025, and especially for new players of the game, it is a stark reminder how much the game relied on good gameplay to substitute storytelling and proper campaign missions. Another point we have to be harsh on is still not having a menu option for changing keyboard commands. Yes, there is an option to switch between several predefined setups, but no customization of keyboard shortcuts for an RTS game in 2025 is like shooting your own foot with a bolt gun.
Eat bolt gun! Ah!
Is his will needed?
Several other points also stand out. There is no skill point based matchmaking for multiplayer, or anti-cheat, no support for multicore CPUs as this is still a single threaded engine, no LAN option or a working Steam workshop for the game, and there are more such issues. This is why the definitive edition, not being a proper full remaster, bites the most. It is a better version of a very aged game and engine coasting on a massive wave of nostalgia and Warhammer 40k love. Don't get me wrong, I love it too, especially as a platform for fantastic mods made by a dedicated community, but I'm glad to see many players able to recognize its shortcomings. So, is its mostly positive review score justified? You tell me, as I always love to read your thoughts on such matters. Mine is only one more opinion and I don't hold it superior to yours.
What is it?
I should also mention that there have been several patches posted recently for this version, mostly fixing errors in audio, UI, visual or online areas, while a lot of the art and animations also had to be adjusted, and some work went into making keyboard keys easier to use in relation to the on-screen menu. I hope to see you and many new players in Dawn of War 4, and most of all I want to see all of the issues mentioned above resolved and missing from future games of this RTS franchise we all love so much. Thank you for watching and I wish you all happy gaming.